The stars looked cold and empty through the cracked viewing window of the Zephyrian flagship. Admiral Kethvar pressed his six-fingered hand against the glass and watched his dying fleet struggle through space. 12 ships carried all that remained of his people. 50,000 souls running from death itself. Behind them, the Dominion Empire had turned the Zephyrian homeworld into burning ash. Kethvar still remembered the screams on the communication channels as the last cities fell. His people were traders and explorers, not warriors. Their weapons were meant for clearing asteroids, not fighting wars. When the Dominion came with their massive fleets and energy cannons, the Zephyrians could only run. "Admiral, the engines are failing again," said Veltan from his station. The chief engineer's blue skin had turned pale with exhaustion. "I can give you maybe 6 more hours before we have to stop for repairs." Kethvar looked at the tactical display. Red dots showed Dominion ships closing in from behind. They would catch up long before 6 hours passed. "How many civilians are still alive?" 47,812, Veltan replied without checking his instruments. He knew the number by heart. Every Zephyrian who died made that number smaller. The Admiral turned to his communications officer. "Any response to our distress signals?" "Nothing, sir. We are too far from any known friendly systems. Wait." The officer's antennae twitched as new data came through his headset. "I am detecting something. A single ship, unknown design. They are responding to our signal." On the main screen, a new vessel appeared. It was much smaller than the Zephyrian ships, with a boxy design that looked crude compared to their smooth, flowing hulls. Strange markings covered its hull in what looked like an alien writing system. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the human exploration vessel New Frontier," came a voice through the speakers. The translation computers struggled with the unfamiliar language. "We received your distress call. What is your situation?" Kethvar had never heard of humans before. The galaxy was full of unknown species, most of them uninterested in helping strangers. Still, he had to try. "I am Admiral Kethvar of the Zephyrian fleet. Our homeworld has been destroyed. We carry the last survivors of our people. A hostile force pursues us." There was a long pause. "How many ships are chasing you?" "Our sensors detect 47 vessels. They will reach us in approximately 4 hours. Another pause, longer this time. 47? And you have 12 ships?" "Yes, but our weapons are not designed for combat." "We cannot fight them." Jake Morrison's voice came back, and Kethvar thought he heard something strange in it. Not fear, but something else. Something that sounded almost like anger. "Admiral, I am transmitting coordinates to a safe location. Follow our ship. We will escort you." Veltan looked up from his station. "Admiral, their ship is very small. They cannot possibly fight 47 Dominion vessels." Kethvar wondered the same thing, but what choice did they have? "Captain Morrison, we are grateful for your offer, but you should know that our enemies are very dangerous. They have destroyed entire star systems." "Admiral," Morrison replied, "no one destroys entire star systems on my watch. Not if I can help it." The human ship moved closer to the Zephyrian fleet. Up close, it looked even more primitive. Its hull was made of metal instead of the advanced materials most spacefaring species used. Strange antenna arrays stuck out from its sides. But there was something about the way it moved that caught Kethvar's attention. It was not graceful, Like Zephyrian ships or coldly efficient like Dominion vessels, it moved with purpose, like a predator. New frontier to all Zephyrian ships. Morrison's voice came again. Form up behind us. We are taking you to safety. As the fleet changed course, Kethvar watched the human ship take the lead position. He wondered what kind of species would risk themselves for complete strangers. Most civilized races would have offered sympathy and moved on. The Zephyrians themselves might have done the same. Admiral, said his tactical officer, the Dominion. Ships have changed course to follow us. They will reach us before we arrive at the coordinates the humans provided. Kethvar looked at the display again. The red dots were moving faster now, clearly not wanting to let their prey escape. Captain Morrison, the hostile fleet has increased speed. They will intercept us. Understood, Admiral. Help is on the way. Help? Captain, you are one small ship. Morrison's laugh came through the speakers, and Kethvar was surprised to hear no fear in it. Admiral, you are about to learn something about humans. We do not leave people behind, and we really do not like bullies. On the edge of sensor range, new contacts appeared. More human ships were coming, moving fast. Kethvar counted them quickly. Only 15 vessels, still outnumbered by the Dominion fleet. But something about their approach was different. They moved in a loose formation that seemed almost random, not like the precise battle lines most species used. This is Admiral Ben Parker of the human fleet, a new voice said. All Zephyrian vessels, stay close to our ships. We will handle the hostile fleet. Velton was staring at his sensor readings. Admiral, these human ships, they are strange. Their technology is primitive by our standards, but their power output is enormous. And their weapons... What about their weapons? They are kinetic projectiles and chemical explosives. Very basic. But the mass drivers are huge, and they carry massive amounts of ammunition. Kethvar tried to understand. Most advanced species used energy weapons that could fire indefinitely. Chemical explosives and metal projectiles were what primitive species used when they first reached space. Why would an advanced civilization still use such old technology? The first Dominion ships came into visual range. Sleek black vessels with gleaming energy cannons. They moved in perfect formation like a school of predatory fish. Kethvar had seen them destroy Zephyrian defense fleets without taking a single hit. All human vessels, this is Admiral Parker, came the command. Remember, we are not here to be heroes. We are here to get these people to safety. But if these Dominion ships want to fight, we will give them one they will never forget. Kethvar watched as the human ships spread out in what looked like chaos. No formation, no obvious strategy. Some ships moved fast, others slow. Some headed straight for the enemy. Others seemed to be moving away. The Dominion fleet maintained their perfect formation as they closed in. Kethvar had seen this before. They would fire their energy weapons at long range, destroying targets with surgical precision. No wasted motion, no unnecessary risks. But as the two fleets approached each other, Kethvar realized something important. The Dominion had fought many species, conquered many worlds, but they had never fought humans before. And something told him that was about to make all the difference. Captain Jake Morrison sat in his command chair, staring at the tactical display. 47 hostile ships closing in on refugees. His crew was looking at him, waiting for orders. He knew he was about to make a decision that could change everything. For humanity. "Sir," said Lieutenant Amy Carter from her station, "I have finished analyzing their language patterns. The Zephyrians are telling the truth. Their entire civilization has been destroyed." Morrison rubbed his jaw. First contact with an alien species was supposed to happen under controlled conditions, with diplomats and scientists. Not like this, with a refugee fleet running from genocidal maniacs. "Captain," said his communications officer, "Admiral Hayes is on priority channel from Earth Command." The main screen switched to show Admiral Lisa Hayes sitting behind her desk on Earth. Her face was calm, but Morrison could see the tension around her eyes. "Captain Morrison, what is your status?" "Admiral, we have made contact with a refugee fleet from a species called the Zephyrians. They are being pursued by a hostile force that has destroyed their home world. I have offered them sanctuary." Hayes was quiet for a moment. "Captain, you do not have authority to offer sanctuary to alien refugees. This could be considered an act of war by their pursuers." "Ma'am, with respect, these people are going to die if someone does not help them. 50,000 civilians, including children." "Children?" Dr. Carter spoke up from her station. "Captain, I should mention that Zephyrian family units are very similar to human families. They care for their young the same way we do." Morrison saw something change in Admiral Hayes' expression. She was a mother herself, with 2 kids back on Earth. "How long until the hostile fleet reaches them?" "Less than 4 hours, ma'am." Hayes looked away from the screen for a moment. Morrison knew she was talking to her staff, probably arguing with politicians and military advisors. When she looked back, her expression was hard. "Captain Morrison, you are ordered to maintain your position and avoid any hostile contact. Do not engage the pursuing fleet under any circumstances." Morrison felt his stomach drop. "Admiral, these people will be slaughtered." "That is not our problem, Captain. We cannot risk starting an interstellar war over aliens we know nothing about." The communication ended, leaving Morrison staring at a blank screen. Around the bridge, his crew was looking at him with expressions ranging from anger to disbelief. "Sir," said Dr. Carter quietly, "I have been talking with their chief scientist. The Dominion Empire has destroyed 17 different civilizations in the past 50 years. They take no prisoners. They kill everyone." Morrison stood up and walked to the viewing window. Outside, he could see the Zephyrian fleet struggling to keep their damaged ships together. Families huddled in those ships, probably wondering if anyone in the galaxy cared enough to help them. "Captain," said his tactical officer, "our sensors are picking up the approaching hostile fleet. 47 ships heavily armed. They will be in weapons range in 3 hours and 40 minutes. Morrison thought about his orders. Stay back, avoid contact, let the aliens handle their own problems. It was the safe choice, the smart choice. It was also the coward's choice. He turned back to his crew. "Dr. Carter, what else have you learned about the Zephyrians?" "They are a peaceful trading species, sir. Their technology is advanced in some areas, particularly sensors and defensive systems. But their weapons are designed for mining and construction, not warfare. They never developed military technology because they never needed it." "And the Dominion?" "A militaristic empire that conquers other species. They seem to view other civilizations as either useful slaves or obstacles to be removed. According to the Zephyrians, they have never been defeated in battle." Morrison walked back to his command chair. His crew was watching him, waiting to see what kind of man their captain really was. He thought about his orders, about the safe choice, about following regulations. Then he thought about 50,000 people about to be murdered. "Communications, open a channel to Admiral Kethvar." "Channel open, sir." "Admiral, this is Captain Morrison. I want you to know that you are now under the protection of the human fleet. We will escort you to safety." Kethvar's voice came through the speakers, and Morrison could hear the relief in it. Captain, your government has authorized this? Morrison looked around at his crew. Dr. Carter was smiling. His tactical officer was nodding. Even his communications officer, who usually followed regulations to the letter, was grinning. Admiral, my government sent me out here to explore space and protect human interests. Well, I have decided that helping refugees is a human interest. And if 47 hostile ships want to argue with that decision, they can take it up with us. Captain, came Admiral Hayes's voice from the communication system, I am ordering you to stand down immediately. Morrison reached over and switched off the communication channel. Oops, technical difficulties. His crew laughed, and Morrison felt something he had not felt in years. He felt proud to be human. Sir, said Dr. Carter, the Zephyrians are asking if they can share some of their sensor technology with us. They say it might help in the coming battle. Tell them yes, and ask them what they know about Dominion tactics and weaknesses. Already. Did, sir. The Dominion relies on superior firepower and perfect formation flying. They have never faced an enemy that uses irregular tactics or accepts heavy casualties to achieve victory. Morrison smiled. Well, they are about to learn something new about irregular tactics. On the tactical display, he could see Admiral Parker's fleet arriving. 15 human ships against 47 Dominion vessels. The smart money would be on the Dominion. But Morrison had a feeling that the smart money was about to lose big. All crew members, this is the captain, he announced over the ship's intercom. We are about to engage a hostile alien fleet in defense of refugees. This is not what we trained for, and it is not what anyone expected when we left Earth. But sometimes you have to do what is right, even when it is not what you are ordered to do. He paused, looking around the bridge at his crew. These were good people, the kind of people who joined the space service to explore and protect, not to watch massacres happen. We are going to show these Dominion ships that humans do not abandon, people in need. We are going to show them that Earth stands with the innocent against the guilty, and we are going to send a message to the galaxy that humanity is not a species to be ignored. Dr. Carter was working frantically at her station, integrating Zephyrian sensor data with human targeting systems. Captain, this is amazing. Their sensors can track targets through most forms of jamming. If we can link this to our weapons systems, do it, Morrison ordered. And Doctor, find out everything you can about Dominion ship designs. Every species has weaknesses. We just have to find theirs. On the screen, the Dominion fleet was getting closer. Perfect black ships in perfect formation, confident in their overwhelming advantage. Morrison wondered if they had any idea what they were about to face. Probably not. After all, they had never fought humans before. Admiral Ben Parker stood on the bridge of the Terra's shield, watching the Dominion fleet approach on his tactical display. 47 ships moving in perfect formation, like black arrows cutting through space. His own 15 ships looked small and scattered by comparison. Admiral, said his tactical officer, the Dominion fleet is maintaining standard attack formation. They will be in weapons range in 18 minutes. Parker nodded. He had read the intelligence reports Dr. Carter had sent from the New Frontier. The Dominion fought like a machine, precise and overwhelming. They had never lost a battle because they never took unnecessary risks. Communications. Patch me through to all ships in the fleet. Channel open, sir. All captains. This is Admiral Parker. Today we face an enemy that has destroyed 17 civilizations. They think they know how space battles work. They think superior numbers and firepower always win. We are going to teach them that they are wrong. On the tactical display, he could see his ships spreading out into what looked like random positions. Captain Tony Williams in the lightning strike was accelerating toward the enemy fleet. Captain Sam Rodriguez in the Defiant was moving to flank them. The other ships were taking positions that would look like chaos to any trained military observer. "Admiral," came Commander Zexhi's voice over the communication channel, "this is the Dominion Advance Fleet. You will surrender the refugee vessels immediately or be destroyed." Parker smiled. "Commander, this is Admiral Parker of the human fleet. Here is our counteroffer. Turn around and go home, or we will send you home in pieces." There was a pause. "You have 15 primitive vessels against our 47 advanced warships. Surrender now and your deaths will be quick. Commander, you are about to learn why humans do not surrender." The Dominion fleet opened fire first, sending streams of blue energy toward the human ships. Parker watched the beams slice through space, targeting his vessels with mechanical precision. But his ships were not where the Dominion targeting computers expected them to be. Captain Williams had accelerated his ship far beyond safe speeds, diving between energy beams that should have destroyed him. The lightning strike's armor was glowing red from heat, but Williams was still coming, charging, straight at the Dominion formation. "All ships, this is Parker. Remember, they fight by the rules. We do not have any rules." The lightning strike reached the Dominion formation and did something no advanced civilization would ever consider. Instead of trying to match their superior firepower, Williams rammed his ship directly into the lead Dominion vessel. The collision sent both ships spinning through space, armor plating flying in all directions. The lightning strike was badly damaged, but the Dominion ship was worse. Its perfect hull was cracked open, atmosphere streaming out into space. "Williams, report," Parker called. "Still here, Admiral. Armor is gone, but weapons are still working. And I am really close to more Dominion ships." The lightning strike's guns opened fire at point-blank range, sending metal slugs directly into the hull of another Dominion vessel. Without their energy shields to protect them, the alien ship crumpled under the impact. Commander Zexhi's voice came over the communication channel, and for the first time, Parker heard uncertainty in it. "What kind of species rams their own ships into enemy vessels?" "The kind that wins wars," Parker replied. The Dominion fleet tried to reform their perfect formation, but Captain Rodriguez was already attacking from their flank. The Defiant launched a spread of missiles that twisted and turned through space, following flight paths that made no tactical sense. The Dominion point defense systems tried to shoot down the missiles, but they could not predict where the weapons would go next. Human missiles did not fly in straight lines or follow logical attack patterns. They corkscrewed and spiraled, sometimes even flying away from their targets before turning back at the last second. "Their missiles are malfunctioning," one of the Dominion officers reported to Zexhi. "No," Zexhi replied, watching the tactical display with growing alarm. "They are doing that on purpose." 3 more Dominion ships were hit by the unpredictable missiles. Their hulls cracked open under the explosive impacts, sending debris spinning through the battle zone. Admiral Kethvar watched the battle from his flagship, hardly believing what he was seeing. The humans were fighting in a way that made no sense to his tactical training. They were taking terrible risks, damaging their own ships, using strategies that should have resulted in their destruction. But it was working. "Veltan," he called to his engineer. "Are you seeing this?" "Yes, Admiral. The humans are fighting like madmen, but somehow they are winning." On the tactical display, more human ships were joining the battle. They came from unexpected directions, moving in patterns that confused the Dominion. Targeting systems. Some ships worked together in pairs, others fought alone. There was no overall strategy that Kethvar could identify, just individual captains making split-second decisions. Captain Morrison's voice came over the communication channel. "Admiral Kethvar, can your ships provide sensor support? We could use better targeting data." Kethvar looked at his tactical officer. "Can we help them? Our sensors are much more accurate than theirs, sir. If we link our systems to their weapons..." "Do it. All ships provide sensor support to the human fleet." The Zephyrian ships moved closer to the battle, their advanced sensors cutting through the confusion and providing targeting data to the human vessels. Immediately, the human weapons became more accurate, finding weak points in Dominion armor and striking critical systems. Commander Zexhai watched another of his ships explode under human fire. The tactical situation made no sense. The humans should have been destroyed in the first exchange of fire. Instead, they were tearing his fleet apart with primitive weapons and insane tactics. "Sir," one of his officers reported, "we have lost 12 ships. The humans have lost only 3. How is that possible? Their technology is centuries behind ours." "They are not fighting like any species we have encountered before, sir. They seem to ignore their own safety completely, and their weapons, while primitive, are far more powerful than our intelligence suggested." Zexhai stared at the tactical display. The human ships were still moving in what looked like complete chaos, but now he was beginning to see a pattern. They were not trying to destroy his entire fleet. They were targeting specific ships, isolating them from the formation, then overwhelming them with concentrated fire. "All ships, maintain formation," he ordered. "Do not let them separate us." But it was too late. The humans had already broken his perfect battle line into scattered groups. Without their coordinated fire support, individual Dominion ships were vulnerable to the human swarm tactics. Captain Williams, his ship barely holding together, managed to destroy 2 more Dominion vessels by ramming them with his damaged hull. Captain Rodriguez used his ship's engines as weapons, flying close to enemy vessels and incinerating them with superheated exhaust. "Admiral Parker," came Kethvar's voice, "we are detecting massive energy buildup in the remaining Dominion ships. They are preparing to retreat." Parker looked at his tactical display. 28 Dominion ships were still operational, but they were scattered and confused. For the first time in their military history, the Dominion was losing a battle. "All ships, do not let them escape. If even one of these ships gets away, they will bring back reinforcements." The human fleet pressed their attack, chasing down the fleeing Dominion vessels. Some aliens managed to jump to faster-than-light speed and escape, but most were caught and destroyed by the relentless human pursuit. When the battle was over, only 7 Dominion ships had escaped. The rest floated in space as wreckage and debris. Admiral Parker opened a channel to the Zephyrian fleet. "Admiral Kethvar, are your people safe?" "Yes, Admiral Parker. Thanks to you, we are safe. But I must ask, how did you defeat them so easily? The Dominion has never lost a battle before." Parker smiled. "Admiral, they fight by rules that make sense to civilized species. But humans are not always civilized. Sometimes we are just stubborn, angry, and too stupid to know when we are supposed to lose." 3 days after the battle, the combined human and Zephyrian fleets were traveling together toward human space. The damaged ships had been repaired as much as possible, and both species were learning about each other. Chief Engineer Ryan Brooks floated in zero gravity inside a Zephyrian engine room, working alongside Velton to combine their technologies. The alien engines were elegant and efficient, using energy fields that humans barely understood. Human engines were crude by comparison, but they were also incredibly powerful and nearly impossible to break. Your power systems are amazing, Veltan said, his translator making his words sound mechanical. So much energy from such simple designs. Brooks grinned, wiping grease from his hands. Simple designs are the best designs. If something breaks in combat, you want to be able to fix it with a hammer and some spare wire. They had spent the last 2 days integrating Zephyrian sensor technology with human weapons systems. The results were impressive. Human missiles could now track targets through any kind of jamming, and human guns could hit enemies at ranges that were previously impossible. Ryan, Veltan asked, why do your people fight in such a dangerous way? Your Captain Williams nearly destroyed his own ship to ram our enemies. Brooks thought about that. I guess we figure that if you are not willing to risk everything to protect what matters, then it does not really matter to you. Meanwhile, in the medical bay of the New Frontier, Dr. Amy Carter was working with Zephyrian scientist Mordain to develop better communication systems. The translator computers were getting faster and more accurate, allowing real-time conversations between the two species. Your language is very complex, Carter said, watching alien symbols scroll across her screen. You have 14 different ways to say family, depending on the exact relationship. Mordain's antennae twitched in what Carter had learned was a sign of amusement. Your language is strange, too. You use the same word for many different concepts. Your word love can mean romantic attachment, family bonds, or even preference for food. Carter laughed. I never thought about it that way. But I suppose that says something about humans. We use one word for all the things we care about because they all feel the same to us. Not everyone was happy about the growing cooperation between the two species. In the Terra's Shields conference room, Colonel Steve Murphy was arguing with Admiral Parker about the risks they were taking. Admiral, we are sharing our military technology with aliens we have known for 3 days. How do we know they are not planning to use it against us? Parker looked tired. He had been dealing with similar complaints from Earth Command for the past 2 days. Colonel, these people lost their entire civilization. They have 50,000 refugees with nowhere to go. I do not think they are planning to conquer Earth. But what about the long term? Murphy continued. We have revealed human military capabilities to an unknown species. If they share that information with other aliens, then other aliens will know that humans are not to be messed with, Captain Morrison interrupted from across the table. Colonel, we just defeated a fleet that had never lost a battle before. Word about that is going to spread whether we want it to or not. Murphy was not convinced. We should be protecting human interests, not risking our people for aliens. Those aliens are people too, Dr. Carter said quietly. I have been working with their scientist for 3 days. They have families, children, hopes, and dreams just like us. They cry when they lose loved ones and laugh when something makes them happy. Admiral Kethavar entered the conference room at that moment, accompanied by 2 of his officers. The Zephyrians moved gracefully despite the unfamiliar artificial gravity, their blue skin shimmering under the lights. Admiral Parker, Kethavar said, I hope we are not interrupting. Not at all, Admiral. We were just discussing our cooperation. Kethavar looked around the room, his large eyes taking in the human faces. Carter noticed that he could probably read their emotions better than they could read his. I wanted to thank you again for what you have done for my people. But I also wanted to discuss something important. Our sensors have detected other ships following us. Parker sat up straighter. More Dominion ships? No. These are different vessels. Unknown designs. It appears that word of our battle has already reached other species in this region of space. Morrison leaned forward. Are they hostile? We do not know yet, but we are detecting at least 20 ships from several different species. Some are maintaining distance, but others are moving closer. Colonel Murphy looked grim. Admiral Parker, this is exactly what I was worried about. We have drawn attention from unknown alien species. Velton, who had been quietly listening, spoke up. If I may, humans are not the only species who dislike bullies. The Dominion has made many enemies over the years. There are probably species out there who have been waiting for someone to prove that the Dominion can be defeated. Or, Murphy countered, there are species out there who want to test the humans who defeated the Dominion. Dr. Carter was studying, readings on her tablet. Actually, Admiral, I am picking up communication signals from several of the approaching ships. They are trying to establish contact. What are they saying? It is hard to translate, but the general message seems to be, they want to talk. Admiral Parker looked at the tactical display showing the approaching ships, 20 vessels from unknown species all converging on their position. It could be a diplomatic opportunity or a potential disaster. Admiral Kethvar, what do you recommend? The Zephyrian admiral was quiet for a moment. Admiral Parker, my people have been traders for thousands of years. We have dealt with many species. Most civilizations will judge you by your first actions. You chose to help refugees and fight genocidal murderers. That says something important about humans. What does it say? It says that humans can be trusted, that humans value life and protect the innocent. Those are rare qualities in the galaxy. Brooks entered the conference room, still covered in grease from his work in the engine rooms. Admiral, you should see what we have accomplished. The hybrid systems are working better than either of our technologies alone. Human durability with Zephyrian precision. We are stronger together than apart. Parker looked around the room at both humans and Zephyrians working together. 3 days ago, they had been complete strangers. Now they were sharing technology, ideas, and friendship. Colonel Murphy, he said finally, I understand your concerns, but I think we are looking at this situation wrong. Yes, we are taking risks by cooperating with the Zephyrians, but we are also gaining something valuable. What is that, sir? Allies, friends, partners. The galaxy is a big place, and humans are going to need friends out here. Dr. Carter was still monitoring the communication signals from the approaching ships. Admiral, I am getting clearer translations now. Several of the ships are specifically requesting permission to meet with the humans who defeated the Dominion. Morrison smiled. Looks like we are about to become famous. Fame can be dangerous, Murphy warned. So can being alone in a hostile galaxy, Parker replied. Mordain, what do your people know about the species that are approaching us? The Zephyrian scientist consulted his personal data device. Some of them are species that the Dominion has attacked in the past. Others are civilizations that have remained neutral in galactic conflicts. All of them are probably very interested in learning more about humans. Admiral Kethvar stood up. Admiral Parker, my people owe you a debt that can never be repaid. Whatever happens next, the Zephyrians will stand with humans. Parker looked around the room one more time. Human and alien faces looking back at him, waiting to see what decision he would make. Outside, 20 ships from unknown species were approaching, carrying who knew what intentions. But for the first time since the battle, Parker felt confident about the future. Humans were no longer alone in the galaxy. They had allies, friends, and partners, and together they could face whatever came next. Lord Commander Thexalis stood in the command center of his massive flagship, the Iron Fist, staring at the tactical report with growing fury. His perfectly organized battle fleet stretched out through space behind him. 215 vessels, the largest force the Dominion had ever assembled for a single campaign. Explain to me again how Commander Zexhai lost 40 ships to 15 primitive vessels, he said, his voice dangerously quiet. Fleet Captain Morgeth, his second, in command, shifted nervously. Lord Commander, the humans fought using tactics that our strategic computers could not predict. They seemed to ignore their own safety completely. Ignored their own safety? Thexalis turned to face his subordinate. They are a spacefaring species. They cannot have reached space technology by ignoring safety. Sir, they deliberately rammed their ships into ours. They used their engines as weapons. They fired missiles in flight patterns that made no tactical sense. Thexalis had been commanding Dominion fleets for 30 years. He had conquered 17 different species and never lost a single major engagement. The idea that primitive aliens had defeated a Dominion force was almost impossible to accept. What about the refugees they were protecting? A species called the Zephyrians, sir. Survivors from the Kef system that we cleansed last month. Approximately 50,000. Civilians. And the humans risked their own ships to protect these aliens? Yes, sir. Intelligence suggests that the humans had never encountered the Zephyrians before the battle. Thexalis walked to the viewing window and looked out at his massive fleet. The Iron Fist alone was larger than most species' entire space navies. The ships around it were equally impressive, armed with the most advanced weapons the Dominion had developed. Fleet Captain, how many human ships are we facing now? Our scouts report 15 human warships and 12 Zephyrian vessels. They are traveling together toward human space. 27 ships total. Thexalis almost smiled. And we have 215. Even if these humans fight like madmen, they cannot overcome those odds. Sir, there is one more thing. Our intelligence indicates that other species are beginning to take notice of the humans. Several alien fleets are moving toward their position. Other species. This was unexpected. Are they allied with the humans? Unknown, sir. But the fact that someone defeated us in battle is spreading throughout this region of space. Thexalis felt a cold anger building in his chest. The Dominion's reputation was built on the idea that they were invincible. If word spread that they could be defeated, other species might begin to resist. Entire sections of their empire could rebel. Fleet Captain, we will destroy the human fleet completely. No survivors, no witnesses, and we will record the battle to show other species what happens when anyone challenges Dominion authority. Yes, sir. What about the refugees? Kill them all. Anyone who aids enemies of the Dominion shares their fate. The massive Dominion fleet changed course, moving toward the last known position of the human and Zephyrian ships. Unlike Zexhai's advance force, this was a full battle fleet with heavy cruisers, assault carriers, and the Iron Fist itself. Admiral Parker received the sensor warning 3 hours before the Dominion fleet would arrive. He stood on the bridge of the Terra's shield, watching the tactical display with growing concern. 215 ships, all larger and better armed than anything humanity had. Admiral, his tactical officer reported, the Dominion fleet is moving in standard battle formation. No scouts, no advance units. They are coming straight at us with everything they have. Parker looked around his bridge crew. These were good, people who had signed up to explore space and protect Earth. Now they were facing odds that would make any sane military commander retreat immediately. Communications, patch me through to all ships in the fleet. Channel open, sir. All captains, this is Admiral Parker. We are facing a Dominion battle fleet of over 200 ships. They are coming to finish what their advance force started. Any captain who wants to withdraw from this engagement has my permission to do so." He waited, watching his tactical display. Not a single human ship changed course or dropped out of formation. "Admiral," came Captain Williams's voice from the lightning strike. "With respect, sir, where exactly would we withdraw to? If we let them pass, they will just follow us to Earth." "Williams is right," added Captain Rodriguez from the Defiant. "Besides, we have already proven that the Dominion can be beaten. We just need to do it again, but bigger this time." Admiral Kethavar's voice came over the communication channel. "Admiral Parker, the Zephyrian fleet will fight alongside you. We cannot run forever, and we owe you a debt." Parker felt something he had not expected to feel before such an impossible battle. He felt proud of his crews, proud of their alien allies, and proud to be human. "All ships, we are going to split into small groups and use hit-and-run tactics. Do not try to fight their main fleet directly. We hit hard, we hit fast, and we get out before they can respond." The combined human and Zephyrian fleet spread out across a wide area of space, using asteroid fields and gas clouds for cover. Parker knew they could not win a direct engagement, but they might be able to inflict enough damage to make the Dominion reconsider their attack. When the Iron Fist and its escort fleet arrived, they found empty space where their enemies should have been. "Lord Commander," reported the tactical officer, "we are not detecting the human fleet at our target coordinates." Thexalis frowned. "Where are they?" "Unknown, sir. They appear to have scattered across this entire system." "Find them. Deploy search squadrons to check every asteroid field and gas cloud." The Dominion fleet began to spread out, sending groups of ships to search for their hidden enemies. It was exactly what Parker had hoped they would do. Captain Sam Rodriguez watched from inside a dense asteroid field as a Dominion search squadron approached his position. 5 ships, moving in perfect formation, scanning for hidden enemies. "All right, people," he said to his crew, "remember what we learned in the last battle. Hit them hard and fast, then get out before their friends arrive." The Defiant burst out of the asteroid field at full speed, launching every missile it carried in the first salvo. The Dominion ships were caught completely off guard. Their sensors had not detected the human ship hidden among the space rocks. 2. Dominion vessels were destroyed before they could return fire. The remaining 3 turned to pursue the Defiant, but Rodriguez was already leading them into a trap. Captain Tony Williams was waiting on the other side of the asteroid field with the lightning strike. As the Dominion ships chased Rodriguez, Williams attacked them from behind, his guns targeting their engines and command centers. Within 10 minutes, all 5 Dominion ships were destroyed. The human ships disappeared back into the asteroid field. Before reinforcements could arrive, similar ambushes were happening all across the system. Human and Zephyrian ships would appear from hiding, destroy a few Dominion vessels, then vanish again before the main fleet could respond. Lord Commander Thexalis watched his tactical display with growing frustration. He had already lost 30 ships to these hit-and-run attacks, but he had not even seen most of the enemy fleet. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "another search squadron has gone silent. That is the 8th group we have lost in the past 2 hours. How many enemy ships have we destroyed?" "None, sir. They attack and retreat before we can engage them." Thexalis felt his perfect battle plan falling apart. The Dominion way of war was based on overwhelming firepower and superior technology, but you could not use overwhelming firepower against enemies you could not find. "All ships, cease search operations. Reform the main battle fleet. We will force them to fight us directly." How, sir? Thexalis smiled coldly. By giving them something they cannot ignore. Begin targeting civilian installations in this system. If the humans want to protect innocent lives, they will have to come out and fight us. The massive Dominion fleet began moving toward a small research station on the edge of the system. The station had no military value, but it contained 300 civilian scientists and their families. Admiral Parker watched the Dominion fleet change course and felt his stomach drop. They are targeting civilians. Admiral, came Morrison's voice. We cannot let them massacre innocent people. Parker knew it was a trap. The Dominion was trying to force his ships into a direct battle they could not win. But he also knew that Morrison was right. They could not watch civilians die while they hid in asteroid fields. All ships, this is Admiral Parker. Form up on the Terra's shield. We are going to stop them. The human and Zephyrian fleet emerged from hiding and accelerated toward the Dominion battle fleet, 27 ships against more than 200. The odds were impossible, but they were going to fight anyway. Lord Commander Thexalis watched the enemy fleet approach and smiled. Finally, Fleet Captain, deploy all ships in standard battle formation. We will crush them in one decisive engagement. The IE-2 fleets raced toward each other across the empty space between stars, one massive and confident, the other small but determined. The battle that would decide the fate of both species was about to begin. The battle began badly for the human fleet. Lord Commander Thexalis had positioned his ships in a massive wall of firepower, and when they opened fire together, space itself seemed to burn. Blue energy beams reached across the void like the fingers of an angry god. Admiral Parker watched 3 of his ships take direct hits in the first exchange. The cruiser Denver was cut in half by concentrated fire. The destroyer Phoenix lost its entire forward section. Captain Lisa Carter, Dr. Carter's sister, died when her ship exploded around her. All ships, scatter and attack, Parker ordered. Do not let them concentrate their fire. But the Dominion fleet was too large and too well coordinated. Every time human ships tried to maneuver, they found themselves caught in crossfire from multiple directions. The aliens had learned from their previous defeat and were not going to let the humans use hit-and-run tactics. In the engine room of the Terra's shield, Chief Engineer Ryan Brooks was working frantically alongside Veltan to keep their hybrid systems running. The ship was taking massive damage from Dominion energy weapons, and normal human technology would have failed already. Ryan, Veltan called out over the noise of alarms and explosions. The power coupling is overloading. If it fails, we lose. Weapons and shields. Brooks looked at the alien technology integrated into his engine systems. For the past week, he had been learning how Zephyrian power systems worked. They were elegant and efficient, but they were also delicate. Human systems were crude but nearly indestructible. Veltan, what happens if we reverse the power flow? Through the Zephyrian sensors? That would destroy them. The feedback would burn out all the circuits. But would it create an electromagnetic pulse? Veltan's antennae twitched as he understood what Brooks was suggesting. Yes, but it would also destroy our own systems. Not if we isolate the human components first. Brooks was already pulling access panels off the walls. We turn your sensors into a weapon, but we protect our systems with good old-fashioned metal shielding. Meanwhile, in the medical bay, Dr. Amy Carter and Mordain were working on a different kind of weapon. They had been studying Dominion computer systems using data recovered from the previous battle, and they had found something interesting. Amy, Mordain said, the Dominion ships are controlled by artificial intelligence systems. Very advanced, but also very standardized. Carter looked up from her computer terminal. Standardized how? All Dominion ships use the same basic software. They share tactical data in real time through quantum communication links. Carter's eyes widened as she understood the implications. If they are all connected and they all use the same software, then a virus that affects one ship could spread to the entire fleet. Carter started typing frantically. We need to create something that exploits their over-reliance on artificial intelligence, something that turns their greatest strength into a weakness. On the bridge, Admiral Parker was watching his fleet get torn apart. He had lost 8 ships, and the remainder were taking heavy damage. The Dominion formation was like a solid wall that his ships could not break through. Admiral, his tactical officer reported. The Zephyrian flagship is requesting permission to try something desperate. What do they have in mind? Admiral Kethvar's voice came over the communication channel. Admiral Parker, we are going to ram the Dominion command ship. Our shields cannot protect us much longer anyway. Admiral, that is suicide. Perhaps. But if we can destroy their flagship, their fleet coordination will suffer. Parker was about to refuse when Captain Williams interrupted. Admiral, I have a better idea. What if we do not just ram one ship? What if we ram all of them at the same time? Explain. Sir, most of our ships are too damaged to keep fighting much longer, but damaged ships can still move. If we coordinate our attacks, we can hit their entire front line simultaneously. It was insane. It was suicide. It was exactly the kind of desperate plan that no civilized species would ever consider. All ships, Parker announced, prepare for coordinated ramming attack. Set collision courses with the largest Dominion vessels. Lord Commander Thexalis watched the human fleet change course with confusion. The remaining ships were accelerating, directly toward his battle line, making no attempt to maneuver or seek cover. What are they doing? He asked his tactical officer. Sir, it appears they are planning to ram our ships. All of them? That is impossible. No species would sacrifice their entire fleet in suicide attacks. Sir, our intelligence reports suggest that humans consider sacrifice for others to be honorable. Thexalis stared at the tactical display. 15 human ships and 9 Zephyrian vessels, all accelerating toward his fleet with engines at maximum power. Their hulls were glowing red from heat and damage, but they kept coming. All ships, concentrate fire on the approaching vessels. Destroy them before they reach us. The Dominion fleet opened fire with everything they had, sending streams of energy toward the approaching ships. Several human vessels exploded under the concentrated fire, but the rest kept coming. At the last second, something unexpected happened. Instead of ramming the Dominion ships, the human vessels suddenly changed course and flew past them at incredible speed, launching every weapon they had at point-blank range. Captain Williams had modified his plan at the last moment. Instead of suicide attacks, the human ships used their ramming approach to get close enough for devastating short-range fire. Dominion shields, designed to stop long-range energy weapons, were useless against metal slugs fired from a few hundred meters away. 12 Dominion ships were destroyed in the surprise attack, their hulls torn open by human weapons. But more importantly, the attack had disrupted their perfect formation. Now, Admiral Parker ordered, all ships, implement Brooks' plan. Across the human fleet, Zephyrian sensors were overloaded and turned into electromagnetic pulse weapons. The resulting energy burst fried electronic systems throughout the Dominion fleet, leaving many ships temporarily blind and helpless. At the same time, Dr. Carter's virus was transmitted to the Dominion flagship through their own communication. Systems! The malicious code spread rapidly through the artificial intelligence network, causing tactical computers to malfunction and weapon systems to shut down. "What is happening?" Thexalis demanded, as his ship's lights flickered and alarms began sounding. "Sir, we are experiencing massive system failures across the fleet. The humans have somehow infected our computer networks." "How is that possible?" "Unknown, sir. But approximately 60% of our ships have lost tactical coordination. The Dominion fleet, which had been a perfectly coordinated machine of war, suddenly became a collection of confused individual ships. Without their artificial intelligence systems, many captains did not know how to fight effectively. Captain Rodriguez saw the opportunity and took it. "All ships, attack the disabled vessels! Hit them while they cannot fight back!" The human and Zephyrian ships, battered but still functional, began picking off helpless Dominion vessels one by one. Ships that had been nearly invincible were now sitting targets. Commander Holly Baker, who had taken command of the Phoenix after its captain died, led a squadron of damaged human ships in a coordinated attack on the Dominion left flank. Her ships were barely holding together, but their weapons still worked. "Remember," she told her pilots, "we do not have to be perfect. We just have to be more stubborn than they are." The tide of battle was turning. Dominion ships that still had working systems were trying to retreat, but they were being hunted down by human vessels that refused to give up. Every time a Dominion captain thought he had escaped, another human ship would appear from an impossible angle and resume the attack. Lord Commander Thexalis watched his mighty fleet falling apart and felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. Not fear of death, but fear of failure. The Dominion had not lost a major battle in over a century. "Fleet Captain," he ordered, "signal all ships to retreat to jump coordinates." "Sir, we still have superior numbers. If we can restore our computer systems—" "Look at the tactical display," Thexalis shouted. "The humans are destroying our ships faster than we can repair them, and they are fighting like they have nothing to lose." "Sir, if we retreat now, the entire galaxy will know that the Dominion can be defeated." Thexalis stared at the display, showing his fleet in chaos, being torn apart by ships that should have been destroyed hours ago. The humans were not just fighting to win, they were fighting to prove that bullies could be beaten. "Signal the retreat," he said quietly. "We will return with reinforcements." But as the surviving Dominion ships began jumping to faster-than-light speed, Thexalis knew that reinforcements might not be enough. The humans had done something no other species had managed. They had shown the galaxy that the Dominion was not invincible, and once that fear was broken, it could never be repaired. Lord Commander Thexalis sat in his command chair aboard the Iron Fist, staring at reports of his fleet's retreat. In 3 hours of battle, he had lost 97 ships to an enemy force that should have been destroyed in the first exchange of fire. His perfect military record was in ruins. "Sir," Fleet Captain Morgeth said carefully, "High Command is requesting a full report on the engagement." Thexalis did not look up from his tactical display. "Tell High Command that we encountered unexpected resistance. Request reinforcement fleet of 300 ships." "Sir, that would be the largest Dominion fleet ever assembled." "High Command will want to know why we need so many ships against primitive humans." "Because these humans do not fight like any species we have encountered before." Thexalis finally looked at his subordinate. "They treat death as an acceptable, tactical option. They damage their own ships to damage ours. They turn defense systems into weapons. They fight like they have already lost everything and have nothing left to fear." 3 days later, the reinforcement fleet arrived. 400 ships under the command of Supreme Admiral Korthax, the highest-ranking military officer in the Dominion Empire. Thexalis was ordered to report to the flagship immediately. Lord Commander, Korthax said when Thexalis entered. His office explained to me how you lost nearly 100 ships to a handful of primitives. Thexalis had been dreading this conversation. Supreme Admiral, the humans fight using tactics that our strategic computers cannot predict or counter. They appear to value the lives of strangers more than their own safety. That is impossible. No species reaches space technology with that attitude. Nevertheless, sir, it is what we observed. They protected alien refugees at significant cost to themselves. They sacrificed their own ships to protect civilian targets. They continued fighting, even when victory was impossible. Korthax walked to a large viewing window showing the assembled Dominion fleet. 400 of the most advanced warships in the galaxy, enough firepower to destroy entire star systems. Lord Commander, we will find these humans and their alien allies. We will destroy them completely, and we will record the battle to show the galaxy what happens when anyone challenges Dominion authority. Sir, I recommend caution. The humans have proven to be unpredictable. Unpredictable or not, they cannot stand against 400 ships. Korthax turned back to face Thexalis. But this time, we will not make the mistake of underestimating them. We will target their civilian populations first, force them to fight us directly. Thexalis felt uncomfortable with the idea of targeting civilians, but he did not argue. The Dominion had always conquered through fear and overwhelming force. If gentler methods were not working, perhaps it was time to use harsher ones. Meanwhile, the human and Zephyrian fleets had retreated to a remote system to repair their ships and tend to their wounded. Admiral Parker stood in the medical bay of the Terra's Shield, visiting crew members who had been injured in the battle. "Admiral," said Lieutenant Dan Pierce, whose arm was in a cast, "is it true that the Dominion is sending more ships?" "Intelligence suggests they are assembling a larger fleet, yes." "How many ships, sir?" Parker hesitated. "Our scouts report approximately 400 vessels." The medical bay went quiet. Everyone knew that the human fleet had barely survived against 200 ships. 400 would be impossible. "Sir," Pierce said finally, "what are we going to do?" Before Parker could answer, Dr. Amy Carter entered the medical bay with an excited expression on her face. "Admiral, you need to see this immediately." She led him to her laboratory where Mordain was working at a computer terminal surrounded by communication equipment. "Admiral," Carter said, "we have been monitoring Dominion communications since the battle. We have discovered something important about their empire." She activated a holographic display showing a map of the galaxy. Red dots marked Dominion-controlled systems, while other colors showed different alien civilizations. "The Dominion controls about 30% of this galactic region," Carter explained, "but they rule through fear. Most of their subject species are not loyal allies. They are conquered peoples who obey because they believe the Dominion cannot be defeated." "What does that mean for us?" Mordain looked up from his computer. "It means that news of your victory is spreading throughout Dominion space. Subject species are beginning to question whether they really need to obey their conquerors." Carter pointed to several systems on the map. "We are detecting increased communication traffic in these areas. Some of it appears to be coded messages between resistance groups." Parker studied the map. "Are you saying that the Dominion is facing internal rebellion?" "Not yet," Carter replied. "But the possibility is there. If we could coordinate with some of these resistance groups, we could fight the Dominion on multiple fronts simultaneously," Parker finished. "But how do we contact them without the Dominion intercepting our communications?" Admiral Kethvar entered the laboratory at that moment, accompanied by Veltan. "Admiral Parker, we may have a solution to that problem." Velton activated his personal data device, projecting a three-dimensional image of what looked like a space station. This is a Zephyrian deep space communication relay. It was hidden before the Dominion attacked our system. If it still exists, we could use it to send messages throughout this region of space. Where is it? In the Kepler Nebula, about 6 light-years from here. The nebula's interference would hide our communications from Dominion sensors. Parker looked at the tactical situation. 400 Dominion ships were hunting for his fleet. His own ships were damaged and outnumbered 20-1. But if they could inspire other species to rebel against the Dominion, how long would it take to reach this communication relay? 2 days, Kethvar replied. But Admiral, the nebula is very dangerous. The radiation and electromagnetic interference make navigation extremely difficult. More difficult for us or for the Dominion? Velton's antennae twitched in what Parker had learned was a Zephyrian smile. Much more difficult for the Dominion. Their ships rely heavily on automated systems. In the nebula, they would have to navigate manually. Captain Morrison, who had been listening from the laboratory entrance, stepped forward. Admiral, if we can get to this communication relay, we might be able to change the entire strategic situation. Parker made his decision. All ships, prepare for immediate departure. We are heading for the Kepler Nebula. 2 days later, the combined fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of the nebula. The view was spectacular and terrifying. Glowing clouds of gas and dust stretched in all directions, shot through with lightning-like discharges of energy. Admiral, the navigation officer reported, sensors are almost useless in this environment. We will have to navigate by sight. The fleet moved slowly into the nebula, following Zephyrian charts that were thousands of years old. The radiation played havoc with their instruments, but Velton guided them through paths between the worst of the electromagnetic storms. After 8 hours of careful navigation, they found the communication relay. It was a massive structure built into an asteroid and powered by the nebula's natural energy. Amazingly, it was still functional. Dr. Carter, Parker ordered, begin transmitting our message to all known resistance groups in Dominion space. Carter and Mordain had spent the journey preparing a simple message in multiple alien languages. It said, "The Dominion can be defeated. Humans and Zephyrians have proven this. Rise up and fight for your freedom." The message went out through the galaxy, carried by the powerful Zephyrian relay to dozens of star systems. Within hours, responses began coming back. "Admiral," Carter reported excitedly, "we are receiving replies from 17 different species. Some are pledging to begin immediate uprisings. Others are requesting military assistance." Parker felt a surge of hope. "What about the Dominion? Are they responding to our message?" "Oh, yes," Carter said with a grim smile. "Supreme Admiral Korthax is broadcasting threats and promises of terrible punishment for any species that rebels." "And are the threats working?" "Actually, no. The more threats he makes, the more species are joining the rebellion. It seems that nobody likes being bullied." Parker looked at the tactical display showing Dominion space. Red dots were appearing throughout their territory as subject species began to revolt. The mighty empire was starting to crack from within. "Admiral," Morrison said, "the Dominion fleet has found our trail. They are heading for the nebula. How long until they arrive?" 12 hours, sir." Parker smiled. 12 hours was enough time to send a lot more messages. And when the Dominion fleet arrived, they would find that the galaxy had changed while they were hunting humans in the nebula. The rebellion was about to begin. Supreme Admiral Korthax stared at the reports flooding his communications center with growing rage. 17 species had begun open rebellion against Dominion rule. 3 major trade routes were under attack by insurgent fleets. 2 Dominion fortress worlds were under siege. "How did this happen so quickly?" he demanded of his intelligence chief. "Sir, the human victory has inspired resistance movements throughout our territory. They are coordinating their attacks using some kind of hidden communication network. Find that network and destroy it." "We are trying, sir, but the source appears to be somewhere in the Kepler Nebula." Korthax looked at the tactical display, showing the nebula. The swirling clouds of gas and radiation would make it difficult to navigate, but he had 400 ships. Surely that was enough to handle whatever primitive humans were hiding in there. "Fleet Captain, set course for the nebula. We will destroy the humans and their communication relay, then deal with these rebellions." "Sir, our ships are not designed for operations in that environment. The radiation will interfere with our targeting systems. Then we will fight at close range. Prepare the fleet for nebula operations." Inside the Kepler Nebula, Admiral Parker was coordinating the largest military operation in human history, not just human ships, but vessels from a dozen different species that had answered the call for rebellion. "Admiral," Dr. Carter reported, "we now have confirmed allies from 23 different species. Some are sending ships to join us. Others are attacking Dominion forces in their home systems." Parker looked at the tactical display showing friendly ships arriving at the nebula from all directions. He had started this fight with 15 human vessels. Now he commanded a fleet of over 200 ships from dozens of different species. How many species are participating in the overall rebellion? 41 species have declared independence from the Dominion, Mordain replied from his communication station. "Several more are considering joining us." Admiral Kethvar approached Parker's command station. "Admiral, I wanted to thank you again for what you have done for my people and for the galaxy." "We all did this together," Parker replied. "Humans just provided the spark." "No," Kethvar said firmly. "Humans provided the courage. My people were defeated and running. Other species were hiding or collaborating. But humans saw people in need and decided to help, even though it meant risking everything." Captain Morrison's voice came over the communication system. "Admiral, our sensors are detecting the Dominion fleet entering the nebula. 400 ships moving in tight formation." Parker looked around the command center at humans and aliens working together. A week ago, most of these species had never heard of each other. Now they were preparing to fight together against their common enemy. "All ships, this is Admiral Parker. The Dominion fleet is coming. Remember, we are not just fighting for ourselves. We are fighting for the freedom of every species in this galaxy. Today we end their reign of terror." The battle began in the swirling clouds of the nebula, where normal rules of space combat did not apply. Dominion ships, accustomed to long-range precision attacks, found themselves fighting at close quarters in an environment that confused their sensors. Captain Holly Baker led a squadron of human and Zephyrian ships in a flanking attack through a particularly dense gas cloud. The radiation was so intense that both human and alien ships had to navigate by sight, but that also meant the Dominion could not track them electronically. "All right, people," Baker said to her mixed human and alien crew. "Remember what we learned. Hit them hard, hit them fast, and do not give them time to think." Her squadron burst out of the gas cloud directly behind a group of Dominion heavy cruisers. The aliens were caught completely off guard, their attention focused on threats from other directions. Human kinetic weapons and Zephyrian energy cannons fired simultaneously, tearing through Dominion armor that had not been designed to handle such diverse attacks. 3 enemy ships were destroyed before they could return fire. Meanwhile, Captain Sam Rodriguez was leading a desperate attack on the Dominion flagship itself. The Iron Fist was surrounded by escort vessels, but Rodriguez had an idea that was crazy enough to work. "Dr. Carter," he called over the communication channel, "can you overload more Zephyrian sensors to create electromagnetic pulses?" "Yes, but it will disable our own systems, too." "That is the idea. We are going to fly directly into the middle of their formation and set off every EMP device we have." It was suicide. The Defiant and its escort ships would be helpless after the electromagnetic pulse disabled their systems, but they would also disable the Dominion ships around them. "Rodriguez, you are insane," Admiral Parker said over the communication channel. "Yes, sir, but I am insane with a plan." The small human squadron accelerated toward the Iron Fist, drawing fire from dozens of Dominion ships. Just as they reached the center of the enemy formation, every Zephyrian sensor array on the human ships overloaded simultaneously. The resulting electromagnetic pulse was like a lightning storm in space. Every electronic system within 1,000 kilometers shut down instantly. Human ships went dark, but so did 30 Dominion vessels, including the flagship. "Now!" Parker ordered. "All ships, attack the disabled vessels!" The rebel fleet swarmed over the helpless Dominion ships like angry bees. Without their advanced targeting systems and energy shields, the aliens were vulnerable to weapons they had previously shrugged off. Supreme Admiral Korthax felt his flagship shudder under repeated impacts. Emergency lighting cast eerie shadows across his command center as his crew struggled to restore power. "Sir," his tactical officer reported, "we have lost main power to weapons and shields. Backup systems are coming online, but slowly." "How many ships have we lost?" 73 confirmed destroyed, sir. Many more are heavily damaged." Korthax could not believe what he was hearing. His fleet was supposed to be invincible. How were primitive humans and their ragtag allies defeating the most advanced military force in the galaxy? "Sir," his communications officer called out, "I am receiving reports from across Dominion space. The rebellions are spreading. Over 100 systems have declared independence. What about our reserve fleets?" "They are fully engaged, trying to suppress the uprisings, sir. No reinforcements are available." For the first time in his career, Korthax faced the possibility of total defeat. The Dominion Empire, which had seemed invincible just days ago, was collapsing from within. On the Terra's shield, Admiral Parker was coordinating the final assault on the Iron Fist. The massive Dominion flagship was surrounded by rebel ships, from a dozen different species, all firing at once. "Admiral," his tactical officer reported, "the Iron Fist is requesting surrender terms." Parker felt a moment of amazement. The Dominion, which had never been defeated, was surrendering to him. "Open. A channel to Supreme Admiral Korthax." The main screen showed the Dominion commander, his perfect uniform torn and his face streaked with smoke. "Admiral Parker, I am prepared to surrender my fleet. What about the rest of the Dominion Empire?" "The Empire is finished," Korthax admitted. "Your rebellion has inspired uprisings throughout our territory. Our military forces are scattered and demoralized. I can order all Dominion ships to stand down." Parker looked around his command center at humans and aliens working together. A week ago, he had been exploring empty space. Now he was accepting the surrender of a galactic empire. "Supreme Admiral, here are our terms. All Dominion forces will withdraw to their home system. All conquered species will be granted immediate independence. Any Dominion ships that continue to attack civilian targets will be hunted down and destroyed. And if we agree to these terms, then you will be allowed to return home peacefully. The Dominion can continue to exist, but only within your original borders and only if you never again attack other species. Korthax was quiet for a long moment. I accept your terms, Admiral Parker. 6 months later, Admiral Parker stood on the observation deck of the new human embassy on New Eden, watching Zephyrian children play in the gardens below. The refugee fleet had found a new home, and their people were beginning to rebuild their civilization. "Admiral," Dr. Carter said, as she joined him at the window, "the latest reports from Earth are very encouraging. The Human Zephyrian Defense Pact has been ratified and 17 other species have requested to join." Parker smiled. "What about the former Dominion territories?" "Most of them have formed democratic governments. A few are still working out their political systems, but none of them want to return to imperial rule. And surprisingly, several former Dominion species have also requested to join our alliance." Captain Morrison approached them, carrying a data